There is nothing more satisfying than watching a negative Eagles media narrative being nuked into the literal sun, which happened over the weekend with the best defense of Jalen Hurts I've heard all year. Plus why everyone is freaking out over Makai Lemon wearing his Eagles jersey for the first time, and the real reason the fan base is torn over this soon-to-be Birds receiver. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. I don't know about y'all, but the media hates on the Philadelphia Eagles and really our QB1 more than any other player and team in the entire NFL. So whenever we get a brand new narrative that completely debunks a negative narrative, it makes me so darn happy. Which is exactly what happened over the weekend, almost by accident, because David Briggs, a sports journalist for a Toledo newspaper, interviewed former Eagles quarterback coach Scot Loeffler, and the internet lost its mind. And of course, I'll get to that first, though. We are less than 500 subscribers away from 117,000 subs, meaning the Jordan Spector Art Choose Your Art Piece giveaway will be happening maybe by the end of the week. So hit the red subscribe button, the notification bell, and drop a like because one of you guys is going to win one. Now, just in case you forgot, think back to that bombshell article of the entire NFL offseason, which was the hit piece by ESPN that cited a ton of anonymous sources who called Jalen Hurts, quote, not always bought in and not the most coachable. And that one ESPN article did triple platinum on Twitter and at local Philly news stations and radio stations and, of course, on ESPN. And yet, yesterday, we had a complete debunking of the entire narrative than none other than quarterback coach Scot Loeffler. As when asked in this article about what it was like coaching Jalen Hurts, Loeffler said, quote, I love the people in Philadelphia and really loved working with Jalen Hurts and the rest of the quarterbacks. We've got a great relationship still to this day, and I wish him nothing but the best. He is super coachable, championship type of guy, and being able to work with him for a year was awesome. He's a champion in every aspect of the word. He's hardworking, smart, and he's a great competitor, which obviously creates a classic he said, she said sort of situation. But on one hand, we have quotes from named sources, aka Scot Loeffler, versus the ESPN article, which cited anonymous sources, who, just to be clear here, let's just speculate a little bit. I think it was probably Kevin Patullo. I mean, it makes too much sense, right? Patullo taking a shot at Jalen Hurts, trying to save his own reputation as a bad offensive coordinator, is an anonymous source. And the ESPN article gladly quotes anonymous sources, and yet this little tiny Toledo newspaper tells you who the person they are quoting is. It's Scot Loeffler. He worked every single day in that building with Jalen Hurts and had nothing but great things to say. I mean, I'll let you decide. Do you want the guy who completely ruined the Birds' offense telling you about how bad Jalen Hurts was? Or how about the guy who was probably the only bright spot of the entire offensive system in 2025 telling you that Jalen Hurts is a champion and super hardworking? For me, it's obvious, just like it's also obvious that these two clearly hit it off, which is why Jalen Hurts posted this picture to his Instagram story after the draft of both him and Scot Loeffler working out off the Eagle football field together, which actually Loeffler was asked about in the same article and said, quote, now he's with the new staff and he's going to be around them 100% of the time. I was just continuing to work on the fundamentals and techniques that we started. He liked what we did. I just wanted to brush his toolbox up, clean his toolbox up to be able to go out and start working with the new staff. I wish nothing but great success for the Eagles and Jalen in particular. I think this one article by a Toledo newspaper perfectly sums up exactly what happens with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. On one hand, you have the negative takes, which sell a lot of clicks, a lot of headlines, very polarizing. And yet the other side, you have the ones exposing the lies, going ahead and revealing the truth, and those don't do very well in the media. I mean, for example, would it surprise you that this morning, ESPN did not mention, as of filming this article one single time? And then how about the WIP website? I checked. Nope, not a word. Which I think further just exposes the insane agenda against Jalen Hurts that keeps getting pushed. Like, sure, is Jalen Hurts perfect? No, I mean, obviously he's not Tom Brady. Does he have flaws? Sure, 100%. We're talking about a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years and won the MVP of one of them. And compared to the other quarterbacks in the league that the media calls way better, who have won like a third of the playoff games as Jalen, talking about Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, you never really see or hear a negative peep about them. And then for some reason, you have Jalen Hurts, who again has won way more than them, actually been to Super Bowls, actually won Super Bowls, and yet every single month of the entire offseason, for multiple offseasons now, there have been hit pieces after hit pieces by anonymous sources. And those hit pieces are what the media actually runs with, and yet they ignore any time an actual person in the know tries and goes, hey guys, listen, that was not my experience with Jalen Hurts. Scot Loeffler saying, I worked with him every single day, and he was nothing but a pro, a great learner, and a hard worker. And again, it's not just been Loeffler, yet the media will not cover Tom Brady raving about him, or Troy Aikman raving about him, or even a couple of months back, how about his former head coach and Doug Peterson, who said, don't bet against Jalen Hurts. And then even further back, I love this clip. I want to reshare this of his new number 1 wide receiver, Devontae Smith, again saying, do not bet against our QB1.
Jalen Hurts talk, especially knowing him as long as you've had, about him being a quote-unquote elite quarterback.
I mean, Slay said, the big 4. For me, it's the big 5. And, Jalen is in that 5. With the 4 that he named, and then I'm putting Jalen in there. That, to me, that's the big 5. I don't think it's a big 4. I think it's a big 5, honestly.
I mean, he got to be in there now.
Yeah, for sure.
Jalen Hurts might be a little intense. He might rub people the wrong way. He's not everybody's best friend in a locker room. He can be a little bit standoffish and not exactly warm and friendly and bubbly. And yet, the idea that makes people go, he's a bad quarterback. He doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to listen. It's just so incredibly tiresome. And yet, week after week, month after month, the media keeps pushing that. And in terms of Kevin Patullo, I do think Andy DeBono summed it up best this week on his hit on the Philly Special Show. Jalen Hurts wants to know the why behind what he's being asked to do. He wants to know why this play versus that play, that formation versus this formation. He wants to go ahead and make sure the Eagles are running the best possible play and not the same draw out of shotgun into a loaded box time after time after time. And the coaches who can teach and explain things the best, Scot Loeffler, Shane Steichen, Kellen Moore, they obviously have the most success with Jalen versus the ones who can't explain it like Ken Patullo and Brian Johnson.
Look at the difference between listening to like a Kellen Moore and even Sean Mannion when he was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. The way that they're just talking about why they approach things a certain way, because that was literally his first time being an OC was at that game and kind of gave the Eagles a little bit of a peek behind the curtain into what his future could be. But he talked about like just like the reasoning behind everything and his experience as a player. And look at the last time Jalen Hurts had a former NFL quarterback as his OC. They won the Super Bowl, right? And you could see that we talked about when Kellen Moore was first hired. There were those clips from like those coaching clinics that Kellen Moore did where he talked about sequencing and all that. It was just phenomenal to hear him just talk football and the reason behind why he did everything. And you could see why a guy like Jalen Hurts, who, like you mentioned, is going to question things and be like, why do you want me to do this? Why is this going to work? And Kellen Moore was able to explain it. Kevin Patullo clearly was.
All in all, massive shout out to Scot Loeffler for at least helping fight back a little bit against this narrative. I get that we're in Philadelphia and the QB is always under a massive microscope, but the original ESPN article never sat right with me, and these quotes from Jalen's actual coach, who went on the actual record, I think continue to prove that all of us were right all along. Now, moving on, but staying with narratives being proven wrong, this one's not as big as Jalen Hurts, but I thought the Makai Lemon narrative after the NFL draft, again, got destroyed over the weekend. As the NFL rookie premiere happened a couple of days ago, it's basically an event where a handful of rookies from this previous year's class get together and put on their new jerseys and do some interviews, which on a surface level is cool because there's Cole Payton and Eli Stowers and of course Makai Lemon wearing their midnight green eagle threads and looking fantastic. But of course it was Makai Lemon who caught everybody's eye and was the talk of the town at NFL rookie premiere. And that's because you might have forgotten, but during the NFL draft and right after the Eagles took Makai Lemon, there was this narrative going around on social media that Lemon was way too small to be a slot receiver and across the middle receiver, catch in traffic type guy in the National Football League. Which, yes, sounds vaguely familiar to yet another first-round receiver who Philadelphia took and was pretty successful. I can't quite put my name on who that was. I'm sure it will come back to me. But anyways, we now have pictures of Makai Lemon in uniform next to other first-round draft picks, and immediately the internet went, wait, he actually looks big enough to me. Which shouldn't be a shock. I mean, he's listed at 5'11", 195. But I think in cleats, in pads, and also with a couple extra pounds put on clearly this offseason, he looks over 6 foot, and I think he's over 200 pounds as well. He looks great. And while, yes, I'll admit this entire story is incredibly dumb because he's just standing there in an Eagle uniform. But trust me, I was on Twitter. It went absolutely triple platinum because everyone was saying, wait a second, he doesn't look as small as I was told he was. And it's like, do you think Howie Roseman would draft a first-round receiver who was too small and couldn't make it in the NFL? Like, Lemon's entire collegiate career was built around making catches over the middle. There's like a million different highlights of him doing just that. I mean, the film shows an incredible ability to bounce off of tackles and make explosive play over the middle after explosive play over the middle. Plus, as a cherry on top, every single time this guy speaks, he sounds more and more excited to actually be in Philadelphia.
Like, what would you say to the Eagles fans?
I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, you want a few guys that got a good number.
Oh, my mama.
It's first round, get this?
Yeah, nine solid.
Nine solid. Yeah. Bro, what do you want to do most this year for the Eagles fans?
What I really want to do most is really just capitalize off every opportunity that come my way.
Sure.
Just making sure I'm ready for that.
Like I said, I feel like I got one of the craziest fan bases, bro. Like, what would you say to the Eagles fans?
I ain't gonna lie. Go Birds.
All All in all, this is a perfect offseason story because in reality, it's not a big deal. Makai Lemon is just wearing an Eagle jersey at NFL Rookie Premiere. He's not on the field playing or actually making catches in traffic or running routes against NFL cornerbacks. And yet, it shows the hilarious double standard. When Philadelphia takes an undersized receiver, people freak out and say, oh, what a mistake. And yet when they actually see that receiver in action, it turns out, oh, not a mistake. Howie Roseman, shocker, I know, knows what he's doing. I am so pumped for Makai Lemon. Let me know if you guys agree down below. Now, staying with Eagle wide receivers and a soon-to-be former Eagle receiver in about 2 weeks, and A.J. Brown married his longtime girlfriend Kelsey Riley in Laguna Beach over the weekend. According to reports, many Eagle players were in attendance, including Darius Slay and Isaiah Rodgers as groomsmen seen here, according to TMZ. And yet, of course, anytime A.J. Brown is mentioned in the news, they try and make it a negative thing about the Eagles, and specifically Jalen Hurts. Because, as you've seen, Hurts was not spotted in any of the pictures. Although, to be fair, first off, we don't actually know if he was there or not. We only have these few pictures I'm showing you. He could have been there, just not photographed. And then second off, honestly, who really cares? Like, we know Jalen and AJ's relationship. It's not what it once was. That's obviously part of the reason he's getting traded in 2 weeks in the first place. And yet, this was a mega story over the weekend. Jalen Hurts not in attendance at AJ Brown's wedding. Oh my gosh, other Eagle players were there. This is crazy. And it's like, guys, can we actually talk about what really matters? And that is the future compensation for an AJ Brown trade. And I guess at least over the weekend, we did get some new updates on that as Jeremy Fowler went on The Fanatic over the weekend and did confirm he continues to hear a first-round draft pick will be included in the eventual trade.
My best guess is that they probably already agreed to something loosely. They can always tweak that or rework it, but they're probably getting a one, maybe a future one, maybe it's a 2028. I don't think they'll get more than that. I think that would be the max at this point. I'd be surprised. Philly, once upon a time, hoped for a 1 and a 2. I just don't see them that happening. Maybe they can get creative and swap some mid to late round picks to sweeten it up. Or I haven't heard anything else as far as like if there's a veteran included. New England could part with one of their receivers, but I think Philly's pretty set there for the most part at that position. So they've addressed a lot of their glaring needs, so they don't really need to include another player. What I think is interesting is there another team that gets involved here? I have not found one. It was rumored that the Chiefs once upon a time. I was told no. The Rams, we know, looked into it. I don't know if it got to a serious level, but it definitely was an inquiry, and that didn't go anywhere. Would the Rams get back involved? I don't know that they would. So if you can get other teams involved, perhaps Philadelphia can get more in a return. But right now, it looks like there's one team.
And for like the 50th time, that's not a shock. I've showed you guys these updates every single week for the past 9 months. It's going to be a first-round draft pick. What does shock me, though, is the fact that a lot of Eagle fans are upset that, rumored, at least the past couple of days, wide receiver Kayshon Boutte will be included in the trade with the Patriots for A.J. Brown. And this stems from a smart place. Like, Philadelphia has a ton of receivers in that wide receiver room. And yes, I'd rather have a safety over Boutte, or heck, even Brian Thomas Jr. over trading A.J. Brown to the Patriots for a first-round draft pick in Kayshon Boutte. But if the Patriots are the eventual destination, I still think they are, I'm not going to say no to including a 24-year-old wide receiver as long as he comes alongside a first-round draft pick. Which, again, by the way, the signs are there that Boutte will be included because he continues to be a no-show this week at Patriots voluntary workouts.
No, I know, but yeah. I know, but you're insinuating something, and just the insinuation is that Boutte would be moved because of A.J. Brown. There would be redundancy, and Boutte's not coming because he knows he's being moved. It would be what the implication.
Yeah. I guess I think that would be something that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
I understand that.
Fred, I don't know if it should happen. Like, he played really well for him last year.
Now, to be clear, if the offer is either one first-round draft pick and nothing else, or a second-round draft pick plus Boutte, I would take the simple first-round draft pick without Kayshon Boutte, but I still think it'll be a first-round draft pick plus Kayshon Boutte, and Philadelphia maybe throws back like a fifth-round draft pick. And that's because even if the first-round draft pick is, let's say, late in round 1, it still will be a heck of a lot better than a late round 2 pick. I mean, just look at the last 3 NFL drafts and who was taken at the bottom of the first round this past year. Maxwell Hairston, Jahad Campbell, and Josh Simmons, all good players. 1 year earlier, Tyler Guyton was there, Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette, not superstars, but household names. And then in 2023, we got Nolan Smith, Joey Porter Jr., and even Sam Laporta was there at the end of round 1. My point is, it's good first round draft pick. I like that. I do not mind Kayshon Boutte coming over, though. I know it's a crowded wide receiver room, but the cream will rise to the top, right? You're trying to go ahead and fill A.J. Brown's spot, so why not take as many swings as humanly possible to make sure you get the best 1, 2, 3, and 4 receivers on the field at any time? which, by the way, all the receivers currently on the Eagles roster, minus A.J. Brown, we're probably going to see them in 2 days as we have our first official volunteer workout this coming Wednesday. And then just to remind you, some OTA practices on May 26th, May 27th, May 28th, June 1st, June 2nd, and June 4th, and then mandatory minicamps on June 9th and 10th. And yes, I do expect most Eagle players to be at pretty much every single workout. There have been some exceptions in the past where a player is, I don't know, going to a funeral or had a prior commitment, but the majority of players, minus A.J. Brown, will all be there. And I will cover every single practice here on the channel starting this Wednesday. Like, they will be practicing, running routes, having fun on Wednesday. So go ahead and subscribe. I'm Thomas Mott. I love reading your comments, by the way. Make sure you leave a comment down below. I read every single one. I don't reply to every single one, but I try. Happy here on a Monday. I feel good about the birds. You should too. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.